Is Mr. Dennis Clifton the solicitor? It is. I must apologize for not looking the part more, but my clothes did not arrive from Clarkson's in time. Very careless of them when they had promised, and my clerk dissuaded me from the side whiskers which I keep by me for these occasions. Yes, quite so. But you have full legal authority to act in this matter. Oh, decidedly. Oh, there's no question of that. My wife and daughter, my friend, Mr. Richard Meryton. Dear me, Mr. Meryton, too. This is quite a situation, as we say in the profession. In the legal profession? In the theatrical profession. I am a writer of plays, Mrs. Crawshaw. I am not giving away a professional secret when I tell you that most of the managers in London have thanked me for submitting my work to them. I understood, Mr. Clifton, that you were the solicitor employed to wind up the affairs of the late Mr. Anthony Clifton. Oh, certainly. There's no doubt about my being a solicitor. My clerk, a man of the utmost integrity, not to say probity, would give me a reference. I am in the books. I belong to the Law Society, but my heart turns elsewhere. Officially, I have embraced the profession of a solicitor, but you know what these official embraces are.
I'm afraid.
Unofficially, Mr. Meryton, I am wedded to the Muses.
Dick, isn't he lovely?
Quite so. But just for the moment, Mr. Clifton, I take it that we are concerned with the legal business. Should I ever wish to produce a play, the case would be different. Admirably put. Pray regard me entirely as a solicitor for as long as you wish. Mr. Dennis Clifton was superb as a solicitor. In spite of an indifferent make-up, his manner of taking off his gloves and dropping them into his hat...
I think perhaps Viola and I...
We'll leave you to your business, Robert. Just one moment, if I may. I have a letter for you, Mr. Meryton. For me? Yes, my clerk, a man of the utmost integrity... Oh, but I said that before. He took it round to your rooms this morning, but found only painters and decorators there. I brought it along, hoping that Mr. Crawshaw... But, of course, I never expected anything so delightful as this. Thanks. Oh, but do read it now, won't you? One so rarely has the opportunity of being present when one's own letters are read. I think the habit they have on the stage of reading letters aloud to one another is such a very delightful one. Richard, with a smile and a shrug, opens his letter while Clifton is talking. Good Lord!
Dick, what is it?
199 Lincoln's Inn Fields. Dear Sir, I have the pleasure to inform you that under the will of the late Mr. Anthony Clifton, you are a beneficiary to the extent of £50,000.
Dick!
A trifling condition is attached, namely that you should take the name of Wurzel-flummery. Impossible! Why should he leave any money to you?
Dick, how wonderful! I don't remember ever having a morning quite like this.
Is this a joke, Mr. Clifton? Oh, the money is there, all right. My clerk, a man of the utmost... Then I refuse it. I'll have nothing to do with it. I won't even argue about it. That's what I think of your money.
Dick! Oh, but Mother, he mustn't. Oh, I must tell him. Really, Mr. Clifton, I'm surprised at you.
And now, Mr. Crawshaw, we are alone. Yes, well, I think, Mr. Clifton, you have a good deal to explain. My dear sir, I'm longing to begin. I have been looking forward to this day for weeks. I spent over an hour this morning dressing for it. Perhaps I had better begin from the beginning. The documents in the case? Oh, dear, no, just something to carry in the hand. It makes one look more like a solicitor. Watherston versus Towser, in reference the Great Missenden Canal Company. My clerk invents the titles. It keeps him busy. He is very fond of Towser. Towser is always coming in. You see, Mr. Crawshaw, this is my first real case, and I only got it because Anthony Clifton is my uncle. My efforts to introduce a little picturesqueness into the dull formalities of the law do not meet with that response that one would have expected. Yes, well, I'm a busy man, and if you could tell me as shortly as possible why your uncle left this money to me, and apparently to Mr. Meryton too, under these extraordinary conditions, I shall be obliged to you. Say no more, Mr. Crawshaw. I look forward to being entirely frank with you. It will be a pleasure. You understand, of course, my position. I think I may say that I am not without reputation in the country, and proud as I am to accept this sacred trust, this money which the late Mr. Anthony Clifton has seen fit, one can not say why, to bequeath to me, yet the use of the name Wurzel-flummery would be excessively awkward. Excessively. My object in seeing you was to inquire if it was absolutely essential that the name should go with the money. Well, you may have the name without the money if you like, but you must have the name. Ah, of course I have nothing against the name, a good old Hampshire name. My dear Mr. Cranshaw, you didn't really think that anybody had been called Wurzel-flummery before? Oh, no, no. You and Mr. Meryton were to be the first, the founders of the clan, the designers of the Wurzel-flummery sporen. What do you mean, sir? Are you telling me that it is not a real name at all? Oh, it's a name, all right. I know it is because I made it up. And you have the impudence to propose, sir, that I should take a made-up name? Well, all names are made up some time or other. Somebody had to think of Adam. I warn you, Mr. Clifton, that I do not allow this trifling with serious subjects. It's all so simple, really. You see, my Uncle Antony was a rather unusual man. He despised money. He was not afraid to put it in its proper place. The place he put it in was a little below golf and a little above classical concerts. If a man said to him, "Would you like to make 50,000 this afternoon?" he would say, "Well, it would depend what he was doing." If he were going to have a round at Walton Heath, "It's perfectly scandalous to talk of money in this way." Well, that's how he talked about it. But he didn't find many to agree with him. In fact, he used to say that there was nothing, however contemptible, that a man would not do for money. One day I suggested that if he left a legacy with a sufficiently foolish name attached to it, somebody might be found to refuse it. He laughed at the idea. That put me on my mettle. 2 people, I said. Leave the silly name to 2 people. 2 well-known people, rival politicians, say, men whose own names are already public property. Surely they wouldn't both take it. That touched him. "Dennis, my boy, you've got it," he said. "Upon what vile bodies shall we experiment?" We decided on you and Mr. Meryton. The next thing was to choose the name. I started on the wrong lines. I began by suggesting names like Porker, Tosh, Bug, Spiffkins, the obvious sort. My uncle... "How dare you discuss me with your uncle, sir? How dare you decide in this cold-blooded way whether I am to be called Tosh or Porker?" My uncle wouldn't hear of Tosh or Porker. He wanted a humorous name, a name he could roll lovingly round his tongue, a name expressing a sort of humorous contempt. Wurzel-flummery. I can see now the happy ruminating smile which came so often on my Uncle Antony's face in those latter months. He was thinking of his 2 Wurzel-flummerys. I remembered him saying once, it was at the Zoo, what a pity it was he hadn't enough to divide among the whole cabinet. A whole bunch of Wurzel-flummerys. It would have been rather jolly. You force me to say, sir, that if that was the way you and your uncle used to talk together, that his death can only be described as a merciful intervention of Providence. Oh, but I think he must be enjoying all this somewhere, you know. I hope he is. He would have loved this morning. It was his one regret that from the necessities of the case he could not live to enjoy his own joke. But he had hopes that echoes of it would reach him wherever he might be. It was with some such idea, I fancy, that toward the end he became interested in spiritualism. "Mr. Clifton, I have no interest in the present whereabouts of your uncle, nor in what means he has of overhearing a private conversation between you and myself. But if, as you irreverently suggest, he is listening to us, I should like him to hear this, that in my opinion you are not a qualified